Hi, welcome to Searching for Answers. I'm Karen Craig. Today we have Jean Christ again. She's going to teach us, demonstrate, show us, inspire us about the shofar. So welcome, Jean.
It's good to be here.
Good to have you. So I want to hear what you've learned. I know you've played the shofar, and I know you have a wonderful story behind it. So
Yes.
I would like you to share that.
Okay.
And
I was taking Dr. Ann's course on ancient methods of searching scripture, and she had, this must have been 8 or 9 years ago, a women's conference on, I can't even remember what it was, but so I was real excited. You know, I was just learning this Hebrew stuff, and I went, I brought some friends with me, and they had a Friday night Shabbat service. They were blowing those horns, and they had those banners, and I was just mesmerized by those horns. I never knew about them. So they had outside some vendors that were, you know, selling stuff, and of course there's this one person with all these horns, and I was like, I want to buy one. So I got a squawk out of one of them, and so I bought it. Now, I was a flute player in school, and you know, it was really hard to learn how to blow that thing, but I started blowing it. And then I would have an opportunity to upgrade and get a bigger one. And so I would, you know, give that one away. And so I'd get another one, and I'd give that one away. And so I've got a brother and a sister and a son and a grandson that have horns, these horns. But I knew that this was like an obsession with me, because I would blow that horn until my lips would get raw. And I would wake up in the morning blowing it. My poor husband, Lane, he'd wake up in the morning, I'd be blowing the horn. He'd come home for lunch, I'd be blowing the horn. You know, he'd go to bed, I'd be blowing that horn. And I was on the east side of the house blowing towards Shirley and Lonnie's house. And I don't know if they were being kept up, but I just kept thinking, what's wrong with me? It was an obsession. And, but I started blowing it, and I got pretty good at it. Well, I had an opportunity to go to Israel, and we were at this antiquity store there in Israel, and we were looking around. They had a lot of shofars there, you know, and this guy from Florida, Stan, he said, Jean, go pick you out anything in the store. The shop owner will give it to you. What? Go choose anything you want. I said, really? And he said, yeah. So I went straight over to the shofars. I mean, there was antiquity coins, there was gold, silver, they had Persian rugs, anything that you could want. I went straight over to the shofars. And they had some Persian rugs wrapped up, and they had them flipped up, and they had these horns in the top. So there's 6 or 7 of them, and I was blowing these horns, and it was the last one I blew. That horn chose me, because I didn't want it. I didn't want what was on it. I just wanted a horn, but they had put some stuff on it. And anyway, I picked it up, and I blew that horn. It was so majestic and so regal sounding. It was like, this is the horn I want, and I could blow it good. And sure enough, here comes the shop owner. Choose anything in the store that you want. And I said, oh, okay, I want this. So I went over and got that horn. And he said, okay, I will wrap it for you. And so I just said, I had already gotten a horn at Capernaum, another one, and I didn't want to wrestle 2 horns coming back on the airplane. So I asked him, well, can you send it to me? Of course. So it was when he was getting my address and everything that I asked our tour guide, Amir, how much do you think that horn's worth? That's when I started looking at what I had chosen. And he said, it does not matter, it's a gift. And I said, well, I didn't choose it for what's on it. I chose it just for the sound. And he goes, oh, maybe $4,000. And I said, Wow. So anyway, I want to show you what God gave me. And I didn't have to pay for it. And it's mine. I don't have to get any more shofars. This shofar is probably, I kind of figured, I took a row and I figured there's probably 2,000 pieces on this horn. And it's mother pearl, and then this is the abalone. And it's about 4 foot long, and it has the most beautiful sound. Beautiful. So I was thinking to myself, what is this thing that I'm doing with this horn? Why am I so obsessed with this horn? Why did God give me this horn? I'm so shocked. So I decided, I'm going to use my ancient methods, and I'm going to do a word search on it. So I found the word shofar. And I use Blue Letter Bible. It's an online free Bible that you can get on. And I found the word shofar. And Dr. Ann has said in the Ancient Methods that God perfectly put the Bible together, that if you take a word and you're searching a word, as the first time you see it, it's foundational and significant. And then as it appears in Scripture, you will start seeing patterns, and really it does. You can see patterns because it condenses so much. I mean, it condenses the whole Bible to where you can just really, study one thing. And so as you look at the context of what's going on and make little notes, you start seeing patterns. So I wanted to see who was blowing the horn and why. So the first time we see the horn is God. I bet you didn't know God was the first one to blow the horn. And he was blowing that horn when he descended on the mountain to meet the people. And that horn, the voice of the trumpet, it was said, was long and exceedingly loud. So loud that mountain was quaking. It had fire and lightning and smoke, and it scared them, so they stood back. But it has a voice. And I believe it's the voice of God coming out of this horn. Okay, then we see in Joshua, the priests were blowing it, and it was for battle against the Canaanites. Then we see in Judges, we see 2 deliverers, Ehud and Gideon. And Ehud, they were battling the Moabites, and then Gideon, they were the Midianites. The priest, that was the Canaanites at Jericho. Okay, then we see a king, King Saul. He's battling the Philistines. And then we see Joab. He's battling. He's a general in the army, and he's on David's side, and they have a battle against Saul. And then we see this rebel guy. His name is Sheba. And, what happened was when Saul died, they took him to Jerusalem and they crowned him king. And then, so this Sheba guy, he blew the horn, telling people, don't quit following David, come follow me. So Judah went with David, and Israel went with Sheba. Okay, then we see a prophet, Nehemiah. And they were rebuilding the walls, and they used those horns when they would see the enemy coming to try to bother them. We see the Moabites, Arabians, Ammonites, and the Ashdodites. Then we see this group of people at the end, watchmen on the wall. And they warned of the approaching battle. And it came with a warning. If you see the sword coming, and you don't warn the people, and they're taken away captive, or they die, then their blood is on your shoulders. So I was looking at these people who were blowing the horn, and I am so excited to see. I believe Jesus is every one of these. He's God. He's a priest. I see 2 deliverers, which makes me think of those 2 goats on Yom Kippur, that one was a goat for the Lord and one was Azazel, a scapegoat. So we see, isn't that interesting?
That is, yeah.
2 deliverers, and then we've got a king, and we've got a general in the army, and then we have this rebel guy, you know, which he's not Jesus, but then we see Jesus as our prophet, and then we see these group of people. Okay, part of ancient searching scripture using the ancient methods is looking at something puzzling. And so I was really puzzled at this guy right here, Sheba. You know, he was a Benjamite, and he was, you know, going to split the people. Well, I'm thinking, okay, all of these are Jesus except this one, you know, and it made me think, we got to know who Jesus is, because how many people are deceived by, how many people have said, I'm Jesus, and they get this following of people, you know, and they follow him. They're not Jesus. We got to know who Jesus is, because we don't want to get taken away, you know, and get messed up and go with the wrong people. Another thing that you see in this word study is, you know, God was the first one to blow the horn to meet the people, and he is the last one to blow the horn. And he marches with the whirlwinds of the south to fight for his people. So he doesn't just come down and meet the people, he fights for them. And it's interesting, imagery is part of these ancient methods. You can see things, and it said he marched in the whirlwinds of the south. Well, what's the shape of the whirlwind like? A shofar.
That's true.
Uh-huh.
That's true.
So I can see where most of these are for battle. All of them, just about all of them, except where, you know, God came down to meet the people. And there's different ways that they blew the shofar. They blew them for to assemble the congregation. They blew those horns on the Day of Trumpets. What's the Feast of Trumpets? They blew them. Yeah, Rosh Hashanah. They blew them for the coronation of the king. They blew them when they were had the ark and they were bringing it back to Jerusalem. So they, you know, blew them a lot. But these people that are blowing them are blowing it for battle. And then we look at, you know, at the beginning, we see them going in to take the land back, because they're coming out of they're coming out of the desert for 40 years, and they're going into the promised land. So they're going in to take the land back, right? And Jericho's the first battle that they have. But you look at this, at the end of the study, and we see these people blowing these horns, right? And they're blowing them, saying the battle is coming. Get yourself ready. The battle is coming. And isn't that so apropos for today? I mean, we don't know what's happening. I mean, if we're watchmen, we're going to be watching because we know there is a battle coming, right? So I had to ask myself, you know, what am I doing with this horn? You know, and I looked at my study, and, you know, I didn't feel like I was a watchman. The way I'm using the horn, I don't think I'm a watchman. So I had to go back to my study and look at it. And I zeroed in on those two battles. And the first one was the Battle of Jericho. And they're, you know, going around. Now, they were blowing those horns, telling the people inside the city, you're under siege, we're coming in to get you. And have you ever been to the Alamo?
No.
In Texas, San Antonio? They talk about Santa Anna when he, you know, came and they were under siege in the Alamo. The thing that scared those people the most was he had a band, and they were playing that band in the middle of the night, and that was horrifying to those people. It scared them to death. They hated it. So I'm thinking, I wonder how those people at Jericho felt when they, heard those horns going around the city. I'm sure it scared them, But anyway, so I noticed that it seemed like the shout and the shofar go together. It's when they shouted that the walls fell down flat and they went up and took the city. And then I looked at Gideon, the battle with Gideon, with the Midianites. Now, it was an open camp, the Midianites, and it was at midnight, They were using those horns. There was 300 of them, and they were blowing those horns, and they broke the pitchers and raised those torches and shouted. Do you remember what they shouted?
No, I have no idea.
The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. Do you remember what happened?
Oh, yeah, they were so terrified. The enemy was so terrified, they slaughtered each other.
With their swords.
With their swords, yeah.
So they self-destructed with those swords. So I think the shout, they shouted that, and look what happened. I think the shout and the shofar go together, and it's probably important. We don't know what they shouted at Jericho, but we do with Gideon. So I called my friend up and I said, you know what? I found this, where the shout and the shofar go together. And I said, and I was on the phone, and I said, how about I blow the horn and you shout? And if you have a need, just shout it out, And so she said, okay. So she shouted from her gut. She had a need. And when we were finished, I said, I saw a double helix. And she goes, is that what that was? They actually wrapped around each other. I could feel it. We could feel them wrap around each other and go up. And it was really amazing. Well, she called me about 4 hours later and said, Jean, I was shouting for a need. And she said, I got this call from this lawyer. And he said he was being paid by Obama stimulus money to help my parents save their home. And that's what she was shouting about. So then I told my mom, she's 85, Mom, this is what I learned. I know you don't want to shout. If you'll just pray and I'll blow the horn, let's do it. Okay. So after about the third time, I finally asked her, Mom, are you praying when I blow the horn? Yeah. And I said, well, I can't hear you. And she said, I know I can't hear myself. She goes, it seems like that horn, like it's pulling my words into itself and it's going up in the shape of that shofar. So I just feel like it's sucking my words in and it's going up. Well, after a while, she told me, I'm getting scared. I don't want to do this anymore. So, she was kind of, but I didn't hear her either. I could not hear her when I was blowing the horn. And we were on the phone together. Then I just started blowing it on people. One gal said that she had lost some, she couldn't get pregnant. So I said, here, let me blow this on you. And so she's from Mexico, and she was trying to tell me about the deer or the elk horn or something. I figured it was this. She said when I, blew that elk horn, that she got pregnant. She got pregnant. So, but I've blown it on people, and some people see visions, and I've been asked to blow the horn at my cousin's funeral. When she was sick, I would get on the phone with her and I'd say, Jerry, let me blow the horn. And it would give her comfort. And it just settled her down, And I've been asked to blow the horn at weddings. I haven't yet. One wedding I was asked, I couldn't, but I've been asked to blow it at another one, so I'm sure I'm going to be there to blow it. So, but, I know that this horn has a voice, and it's the voice of God. And I believe that when I blow this horn, people love that sound, you know, and I think it's because, and even the dogs, they just look up at me like they're not scared of it. And I just think it's the voice of God, and that maybe our soul doesn't know the Lord, but I think our spirit does, because he's our creator. And so everybody stops and they listen. And I've blown that horn. I live outside of town about a mile, and I'll blow the horn. And my friend was, you know, in town, and I said, hey, I called her up, can you hear me blowing the horn? So she called me back, yeah, I can hear it. So it goes a long way. And we were having problems. I work at the local hospital, and my friend and I, the one that, you know, I called, I said, you pray and I'm going to blow. And so we blew the horn and shouted at the four corners of the hospital. And it was the very next day, and this is the truth. The hospital is owned by the county, and they had a board meeting, and they fired the board of directors, and they also fired our management company. And I was pretty shocked. And it's like, you know, I don't think that was by accident. You know, that was pretty shocking to me, you know. But anyway, I'm looking at this thing, and I'm thinking, you know, I think I'm using this as an ancient weapon of warfare, you know, because when they blew it and they shouted, the walls of the enemy fell down flat, you know, and also it confused the enemy where they self-destructed. So I still have a lot to learn. You know, I love the sound. Everybody loves it.
Oh, I do. I can't wait for you to play it for people.
Yeah, and I take it wherever I go, you know, and if I see an opportunity, here, let me blow the horn, you know. But they had 3 different ways that they blew it, and the first one is tekiah. And that was with the coronation of the king. And it is a long sound, and then it goes up at the end, and I'll play it. It goes like this. That's tekiah. And then they have one called the Shevarim, which is the 3 wailing calls. And so that one's the call to repentance, you know. And it goes like this. And then they have the tekiah teruah. Now that's that staccato blast, and that was the call to battle. And there's 9 little staccato blasts. It goes like this. And then the last one is tekiah hagadol, and that was the one that they think probably was the blast when the voice of the trumpet, you know, when God descended on the mountain to meet the people. Because it's a long one. And it goes like this. And so that's how I've learned how to blow it, and I'll just blow it in succession.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, I just love it. I just want to blow it everywhere.
You can blow it over me anytime.
Oh, good.
The one thing I have learned with searching scriptures, that Dr. Ann has taught us, is that it's always good to study with somebody else.
Yeah.
So all you've talked about, it's just stimulated my thinking.
Oh, good.
So let me just share what I think
Okay.
I learned just from what you were talking about. When you blow, that is the breath of God. That's what he
Yes.
said. It starts at Mount Sinai when he calls the people.
Yes.
So that's the breath of God. And then he calls for men to shout. What do we have to do? When we shout, we let go of breath.
Oh, yeah.
So when
Oh,
God
yeah.
does
Ooh,
something,
yes.
it's not just by himself. He's always calling us to join him. So that's why
Oh,
when
how
you
awesome.
when you blow the shofar and somebody's praying, it's a,
That's right.
isn't that cool?
Oh, I love that. Oh, look, I have some more because I usually kind of give a teaching before I blow the horn, but that is perfect.
Well, thank the Lord.
Oh, yeah, thank you,
It
Jesus.
stimulates, that's why we encourage people to study with others because we enrich each other's thinking
Yeah.
and we learn from each other.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you. That
Oh,
was
thank
very cool.
you.
That was very
Oh,
cool.
good.
Thank you.
I really
So,
enjoyed it.
You want to blow it again?
Yeah.
Good. Amen. We join your sound, Lord. Amen.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.